The war had already gone on too long. The stars were burning with battles, fleets were shattered, and whole worlds were turning dark. Every planet in the Alliance felt the same hopeless weight. They had called for peace, they had begged for mercy, but their enemy was not one that believed in such things. The Krill dominion spread across the galaxy like a disease. Their ships were endless, their weapons burned through shields, and their soldiers never asked for surrender. They only conquered, and those who resisted were erased. For years, the Alliance had fought them. For years, the Alliance had lost. Now, the Krills stood at the gates of the last free worlds. The Grand Council sat in silence, faces pale under the light of dying stars. They had no more fleets to send, no more armies to sacrifice, no more plans that could save them. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy knew what it felt like to be prey. In that silence, an old name was spoken. A name none of them wanted to remember. Humans. The word fell heavy. Some flinched. Others shook their heads at once. "They are not an option," said a thin-scaled creature from the Otsari clans. "They are chaos. They are destruction. To call them is to end us all." But the council's leader, High Speaker Tolan, only stared at the table. His eyes were hollow. "If we do nothing, the Krill will end us anyway. If humans are chaos, then perhaps chaos is the only weapon left." The chamber erupted in arguments. Every species remembered the old wars. The humans had not been part of the Alliance. It stood alone, isolated, feared. They were not the largest empire, nor the most advanced, but when threatened, they fought with a fury that had shaken every star system around them. Some races still carried scars from those days. Humans were unpredictable. Humans were reckless. And yet when they fought, they did not stop until either they were destroyed or their enemy was. That was why the galaxy feared them. That was why they had been pushed into the shadows, locked away from diplomacy, left in exile. But now, when all hope was gone, the galaxy faced a choice. Risk annihilation at the hands of the Krill, or risk survival with the help of the most dangerous species alive. The vote was cast. It was close. But the result was clear. The beacon was lit far across the galaxy. On the quiet blue planet of Earth, a signal pierced the skies. Humanity, long forgotten, long ignored, received a call for help. It was not a request. It was a desperate scream. The Krill were coming. The Alliance had fallen. And only one species remained that could turn fear into a weapon. The humans listened, and they remembered. Because while the galaxy feared them, the humans had never truly forgotten the galaxy. The transmission was replayed 100 times in the United Earth Command. Generals sat in silence. Politicians whispered, but their voices carried no weight here. The decision was not one of diplomacy anymore. It was war. "They are afraid of us," one of the commanders said, his voice sharp. "Afraid because they know what happens when we fight without restraint." "But if we go," another replied, "we will not be returning as allies. We will be returning as the storm." No one disagreed. At last, the Supreme Commander of Earth spoke. His voice was low, steady, as if he had been waiting for this moment all his life. "Prepare the fleets. For too long they believed we were finished. For too long they thought us weak. If the galaxy calls us monsters, then let them remember why." The order went out. In secret shipyards, massive war machines awakened. Colossal carriers hummed too. Life, Titan-class dreadnoughts, silent for decades, powered their engines again. Fleets that had been shadows on blueprints became fire in the void, and as the humans prepared, one truth spread across every star system. The most feared species in the galaxy was not gone. They were only waiting. Now, hope and fear carried the same face. Humanity was coming. The signal had been sent. The humans had answered. But the rest of the galaxy did not know what that truly meant yet. The Krill fleets were already moving. Their swarms of black warships crossed the stars like an endless tide, consuming system after system. Worlds fell in silence, their last. Screams cut off mid-broadcast. Refugees spoke of burning skies and oceans filled with ash, The Krill left nothing alive. On the edge of the Alliance's border, a desperate defense had formed. Small fleets patched together from what remained of broken empires waited like lambs before the slaughter. They knew they could not win, but they would fight. That was when the first human ship appeared. It did not come with fanfare, did not send messages, simply arrived, dropping out of faster-than-light travel above the doomed world of Vera. The defenders at first thought it was another refugee craft. But then the sensors screamed. The readings were impossible. The ship was too dense, too heavily armored. Its weapons hummed with power not seen in centuries. It was old Earth design, but bigger, stronger, refined for one purpose. War. The Krill did not hesitate. They turned their guns on the lone human ship. Thousands of plasma lances lit up the void. But when the storm cleared, the human ship still stood. Its shields burned bright but did not fall. Then came the reply. The human ship fired once. Just once. The beam cut through the Krill flagship as if it were made of paper. A vessel that had destroyed countless worlds split apart in silence, flames. Spilling into the void, the other Krill ships hesitated, their swarm momentarily broken. The defenders could not believe what they had seen. One shot, one ship. And the unstoppable Krill were running. For the first time in years, the galaxy saw the predators bleed. The news spread fast. Across Alliance space, whispers turned into shouts. Humans had returned, but the Alliance was not united in joy. Many feared what this meant. The humans had not been allies. Before they had been nightmares. If they could destroy the Krill so easily, what would stop them from conquering the galaxy once the war ended? The Council argued again. Some demanded they cut off all ties to let the humans fight alone. Others wanted to put every remaining fleet under human command. And a few whispered of betraying them before it was too late. But all those voices grew quiet when more human fleets appeared. Not one, not 2 dozens. Ships that had not been seen for centuries. Titan dreadnoughts, strike frigates, carriers. Carrying swarms of fighters, humanity had not been idle in their exile. They had been building, preparing, waiting for the day they would be called again. And now, the day had come. The Krill adapted quickly. They were not a mindless swarm. Their leaders were cunning, cold, and ruthless. Reports said their next target was the heart of the Alliance itself. If they broke through the last defense lines, the galaxy would fall in weeks. The humans did not wait for them to strike. Admiral Reyes, commander of the Earth Titan Iron Dawn, gathered his fleets in silence. His words to his officers were recorded and spread across every channel in the system. The Krill think fear is a weapon. They burn worlds because they believe we will break, but we are human. We do not break. They will learn that fear belongs to us. The fleet moved, hundreds of ships aligned, engines burning like a storm. The humans did not form walls of defense. They formed a spear, sharp, narrow line aimed directly at the Krill invasion corridor. When the two sides clashed, the void itself seemed to tear apart. The Krill unleashed everything: thousands of plasma lances, swarms of interceptors, torpedoes that could crack moons. But the human fleets pressed forward, shields shimmering, holes enduring hits that would have shattered other species.
Ow.
Their return fire was merciless. Every shot was meant to kill, not to wound. One by one, the Krill ships burst into fire. Their formations broke, their swarm faltered. But the humans did not stop. They drove forward through the heart of the enemy line, straight toward the Krill command ships. It was reckless. It was madness. No other species would have dared such a tactic. But that was what made them human. At the center of the battle, the Iron Dawn unleashed its main gun. The blast ripped a hole through the Krill fleet so large that even their endless swarm could not close it. For the first time in the war, the Krill retreated, and the galaxy trembled, because the Alliance had begged for saviors. But what they had, unleashed, was something far more terrifying. They had called for humans. Humans had answered. The retreat of the Krill was not victory. It was a warning. The humans knew this. They had studied the Krill long before the Alliance admitted defeat. They knew the swarm never stopped. When beaten, the Krill did not surrender. They evolved in the silence after the battle, as wreckage drifted among burning stars. Admiral Reyes stood on the bridge of the Iron Dawn. His officers were cheering quietly, relief washing over them, but he did not smile. His eyes stayed locked on the tactical map. "They're not gone," he said. "They're changing," and he was right. Scouts soon reported strange movements. Krill fleets pulled back, not in panic, but in order. Entire hive ships shifted position, regrouping far beyond the borders of Alliance space. Something vast was forming in the darkness. The humans called it the Gathering. Meanwhile, the Alliance struggled to understand what was happening. Worlds that had been hopeless now lit bonfires of celebration. Refugees sang of salvation. Statues of human warriors once hidden and broken were being rebuilt in secret. But in the council chambers, fear still ruled. "They are not fighting for us," hissed an insectoid delegate from the Karain swarm. "They are fighting for themselves." What happens when the Krill are destroyed? Do you think humans will simply return home? They must be controlled, another voice argued. Their fleets are too powerful. Their weapons are beyond reason. If we trust them fully, we replace one empire with another. But others whispered a darker thought. What if humanity could win? What if they were the only reason the galaxy survived? It was hope wrapped in terror, and in that unease, rumors spread. Reports of human fleets taking whole systems as staging grounds. Planets occupied, not asked. Supplies seized without negotiation. Humanity was not simply helping. Humanity was preparing for something bigger, deep in their command bunker on Earth. The true plan unfolded. For decades, humanity had known that one day they might be called. They had studied ancient wars, not to understand peace, but to understand extermination. Every design, every weapon, every hidden fleet had been built with one thought. Never again will humans be prey. Now that plan was alive. Admiral Reyes spoke to his fleet commanders through a secure channel. His voice was steady, his face carved from iron. "The Krill think themselves unstoppable because they spread like fire. We will not chase flames. We will strike the heart. We'll burn the swarm from the inside out." It was a strategy no other species had dared. The Alliance always fought the Krill at the edges, trying to defend their worlds. The humans intended to do the opposite, drive straight into the hive clusters, shatter their breeding grounds, and destroy their command queens. It was madness, but it was human madness. The first test came soon. A Krill hive world, hidden in a dark cluster of stars, was discovered by human scouts. It pulsed like a living thing, covered in organic towers, its atmosphere thick with spores. Dozens of hive ships guarded it. No Alliance fleet had ever come near it. The humans did not hesitate. A strike force of 3 dreadnoughts, 20 cruisers, and countless fighters descended like a storm. The Krill reacted instantly, their swarm exploding outward, a living wall of teeth and fire. But the humans did not fight to hold ground. They cut through, carving a path straight to the hive world itself. The Iron Dawn unleashed a weapon no one had seen before, Planet Cracker. A device designed not to kill armies, but to erase worlds. The Alliance watched in horror as the human fleet planted the device into the hive's atmosphere. A blinding flash filled the system. The hive world cracked, split, and burned from within. An entire Krill breeding nests millions of enemies was gone in minutes. The humans had done what no one believed possible. They had destroyed the heart of the swarm. But in doing so, they revealed what they truly were. The Krill feared nothing. They feared no fleet, no empire. But now, the Krill had met something that hunted them, and the galaxy, watching from afar, whispered the same thought. If humans can destroy the Krill, then they can destroy anyone. Admiral Reyes did not care about whispers. He stood on his bridge, looking at the shattered remains of the hive world. His officers cheered, but he only said one thing. "This is the beginning. They will not run forever. Next time, the swarm will come for us with everything they have." The black of space signals stirred. The Krill Queens screamed across, their hive networks summoning every soldier, every warship, every living weapon they had. For the first time in history, The swarm was united in one goal, not just to conquer, but to destroy humanity. The galaxy had not seen silence like this in centuries. After the human strike destroyed the Krill hive world, entire sectors went dark, not because of defeat, because the swarm had pulled back. It was as if the Krill were holding their breath. Alliance worlds celebrated, but their joy was thin, nervous. Even the council chambers were unsettled. A Krill retreat was not safety. It was a shadow before the storm, and the storm was coming. Admiral Reyes knew it before anyone else. From the bridge of the Iron Dawn, he studied the strange movements. On his tactical displays, entire swarms that once spread across dozens of systems were collapsing inward, forming one massive cluster. The swarm was uniting. "They've never done this before," whispered Commander Hale, his second-in-command. "They've always scattered. Always attacked from every direction." Reyes's jaw tightened. "That's because they've never feared before." "Oh, they do." And then, when word came through, intelligence channels a word that carried more weight than any weapon. Leviathan, the Krill, were preparing a weapon of their own. A living warship larger than moons, bred in secret hives, armed with biocannons, capable of shattering even human trat. It was not a myth, it was real. Scouts never returned from systems where the Leviathan was rumored to move. Sensors showed only fragments, vast shadows blotting out starlight. Every sign pointed to one truth. The swarm was building an armada unlike anything the galaxy had seen. And at its heart, the Leviathan waited. The Alliance panicked. Some council members demanded that humanity strike first, while others begged to hide behind human fleets like frightened children. But the humans were already moving. Reyes ordered the largest mobilization in Earth's history. Fleets launched from hidden shipyards. Dreadnoughts rolled from dry docks. Orbital factories churned out weapons day and night. For decades, humanity had prepared in secret. Now, they revealed their full strength. It was not thousands of ships. It was tens of thousands. Enough to make even the Krill hesitate. The first clash came at the border world of Kirith. Sensors picked up the swarm's approach, an endless black cloud of warships, carriers, and living beasts. The defenders had never seen so many. It was not an invasion. It was annihilation. The humans did not wait to be attacked. Reyes gave a single order: "We take the fight to them." The human spearhead formed again, Titan dreadnoughts at the center, flanked by cruisers and destroyers. Behind them, swarms of fighters poured out like metal locusts. The void lit up as the two forces collided. The Krill unleashed hell. Their swarm came like a wave, slamming into human shields, tearing at ships with suicidal fury. Explosions filled the dark. Entire fleets vanished in minutes. But the humans fought differently. They did not scatter. They did not retreat. They drove forward like a blade, piercing through the mass, targeting command nodes, destroying hive carriers one by one. Every time a Krill hive carrier died, the swarm around it faltered, confused. And in those moments, the humans struck with merciless precision. For hours, the battle raged. Worlds below burned as stray fire lit their skies. Alliance watchers stared in awe and terror, realizing this was no ordinary war. This was extermination on both sides. And then the shadow came. At first, the sensors thought it was a moon. Then, it moved. The Leviathan, it was not a ship. It was a living nightmare. Its armored hide glowed with heat. Its tendrils stretched across kilometers. And its mouth pulsed with energy bright enough to blind. The Krill swarm roared as if their god had arrived. The Leviathan opened fire. A single blast cut through 3 human dreadnoughts at once. The shockwave shredded entire formations. Shields shattered. For the first time, the humans staggered. "Hold the line," Reyes shouted, even as the Iron Dawn shook under the impact. But the Leviathan was not finished. It launched swarms of smaller biobeasts, each one latching onto human ships like parasites, drilling into their hulls. The humans fought them off, but the cost was brutal. Dozens of ships lost, hundreds crippled, and still the Leviathan advanced. Admiral Reyes knew the truth. No fleet battle could kill that thing. He turned to Commander Hale. "Prepare the Ash Protocol." The officer froze. "Sir, that's untested." "If it fails, it won't fail," Reyes said. His voice was iron. "It can't." The order spread. Deep inside the human fleet, a hidden ship, the Nemesis, began to unfold. It carried humanity's most dangerous weapon, one kept secret even from the Alliance. A singularity warhead, or a bomb that could create a collapsing star. It was not meant to win battles. It was meant to erase entire systems. As the Leviathan bore down on the Iron Dawn, the Nemesis jumped forward, its engines burning white. Every human ship cleared a path. The Krill swarmed it, tearing at its hull, but it pushed through when it reached striking distance. The Nemesis armed its payload. The last transmission from its captain echoed across the fleet. For Earth, for humanity, for the galaxy. And then the void tore apart. The singularity bloomed, a newborn black star. The Leviathan screamed as its massive body was ripped apart, torn into nothingness. The swarm around it collapsed, their hive mind broken. The battle was over, but the cost was unimaginable. Hundreds of human ships destroyed, thousands of lives lost. The weapon they had sworn never to use had now been unleashed. In the council chambers, silence fell as the reports arrived. The Krill Leviathan was gone. Humanity had saved the galaxy. Again, but beneath the relief was a deeper fear. If the humans had weapons that could create black stars, what else were they hiding? And more importantly, what would happen when the Krill were gone? The battle at Kirith became legend overnight. Across the Alliance, broadcasts replayed the final moments. The Leviathan charging, the human ship Nemesis diving forward. And then the impossible, the birth of a black star in the middle of the war. For the first time in living memory, the Krill had been broken, worlds cheered. Refugees wept in joy. Children carved the names of human ships into the walls of burned-out shelters. But inside the council chambers, celebration quickly turned to dread. "They created a star," whispered one. Delegate, voice trembling. "A star that swallowed fleets." It was not a star, another corrected. It was a weapon. A weapon no species should have. The arguments grew bitter. Some praised the humans, declaring them saviors. Others warned that a species with such power could never be trusted. And in the shadows of the chamber, whispers grew darker still. If humans could kill a Leviathan, what could stop them from killing everything else? The humans themselves were silent. Admiral Reyes made no speeches after the battle. The reports of losses were too heavy, entire fleets gone, sacrifice of the Nemesis still raw. Every human commander knew the truth. The Leviathan was only the beginning. In the dark, the swarm was learning. Scouts vanished near hive space. Intercepted signals spoke of movement deep in Krill territory. It was not chaos. It was order. The swarm was building something new. And when the reports reached Reyes, his words were grim. "They're not retreating. They're preparing." The Leviathan was not their only monster. Meanwhile, across the Alliance, cracks began to show. On the planet Ivara, crowds protested against human fleets occupying their orbital docks. On Taros, a group of generals demanded humanity hand over their singularity, weapons or leave Alliance space forever. The humans ignored both. Their fleets continued to expand. Their shipyards consumed entire asteroid belts, and their armies moved with quiet precision. They did not ask permission. They did not explain, because humanity was not fighting for politics. Humanity was fighting to survive. But something else was happening too. Among the refugees, stories spread. Tales of human soldiers fighting in broken streets, standing side by side with alien civilians, sharing food, medicine, even blood. Videos showed human medics saving alien children. To the common people of the galaxy, the humans were not monsters. They were the first warriors who had stood between them and the swarm and lived. A dangerous divide was forming. The councils feared humanity. The people began to worship them. Back on Earth, the secret war councils continued. The Ash Protocol. Use of singularity weapons had been meant as a last resort. But now, engineers were refining it, building smaller versions, faster versions. Bombs that could be carried by a single stealth ship. Some argued they should stop. Such weapons would make the galaxy turn against them. But Admiral Reyes silenced them with one sentence: "The galaxy already fears us. Better they fear us and live than love us and burn." And then the first new reports arrived, in a dead system at the edge of the galactic rim. Human scouts found the remains of an Alliance fleet. Ships torn open, melted from within. No survivors. No signs of ordinary krill weapons. Floating in the wreckage was something else. A husk body. Larger than a battleship, shaped like a twisted serpent, its flesh fused with living metal. It was not a leviathan. It was something different. A hybrid. The krill had taken the wreckage of their fallen enemies and fused it into their living war beasts. A swarm that could adapt to technology. A swarm that could learn. When the news reached the humans, silence filled the war dash room. Commander Hale finally broke it. "They're copying us." Reyes's face was stone. "No, worse. They're becoming something new." Every species had feared the krill because they were endless. But now, the krill were changing, learning, growing stronger with every battle. The Leviathan had been only the first trial. The real war had just begun, and so humanity prepared again. Fleets moved deeper into krill space. Strike teams were formed to hunt the new hybrids. Weapons were forged that no one dared to name. The Alliance watched with wide eyes. Some called the humans saviors. Others whispered that they were awakening something far worse. But one thing was certain: the war was no longer the galaxy versus the KRYL. It was the krill versus humanity, and everyone else was caught in the middle. The first krill hybrid attack came without warning. The human fleet vanguard was escorting refugees across the border systems when the void itself seemed to twist. Dozens of shapes appeared from the shadow shapes no one had seen before. They looked like krill, but their armor gleamed with stolen plating. Their weapons burned with human signatures, as if human technology had been melted into their bodies. They moved with swarm speed, fired with terrifying precision. The battle lasted minutes. The vanguard was torn apart, its shields bypassed, its weapons stolen mid-fight. Thousands of refugees screamed as hybrid swarms cracked open their transports. Like eggs, only one ship escaped. Its transmission reached Admiral Reyes hours later. The recording was short, filled with static and screams. "They're not just krill anymore," the broken voice said. "They're us." When the council saw the footage, panic spread. Entire delegations demanded that humanity retreat, that their weapons had made the swarm worse. "This is your fault," shouted one alien leader. "You gave them the tools to become unstoppable." Reyes did not even answer. His fleets were already moving, because he knew something the council did not. The krill hybrids were not the end. They were the beginning of a new war. The next battle came at the system of Aratha. The humans had fortified it with carriers, dreadnoughts, and ground armies. For days, silence held. Then the swarm came. Not ordinary krill. Hybrids. They dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. Krill ships that once flew like beasts now maneuvered like trained soldiers. Their new weapons cut through human shields. Their new armor resisted even heavy cannons. The humans fought back with everything. Fighters screamed through the void. Missiles tore into the swarm. Dreadnoughts unleashed planet-cracking guns. But the hybrids adapted. Every volley made them smarter. Every weapon turned against them only sharpened their counter. A human destroyer fired its railgun once. Minutes later, a hybrid fired the same weapon back. Admiral Reyes watched in grim silence as human technology spread like infection through the swarm. "This is not war," he said softly. "This is evolution." On the ground, the horror was worse. Krill hybrids landed on Oratha's surface, tearing into human and alien soldiers alike. Their claws were fused with human rifles. Their wings carried plasma jets stolen from fighters. They were not just beasts. They were weapons designed from humanity's own image. Colonel Marcus led the defense in the burning city of Gerald. He watched his soldiers die against creatures that spoke in broken human voices, mimicking commands, tricking units into ambushes. There. Learning from us, he whispered. There. You speaking like us. Even hardened Deathworld soldiers felt fear, because it was no longer clear where the line between human and krill ended. The battle for Aratha lasted 3 days. When the smoke cleared, the planet was gone. Not destroyed, consumed. The hybrids had dug into its surface, turning cities into hives, factories into breeding pits. Aratha had not fallen, it had transformed. The humans pulled back. But the loss echoed across the stars. If the swarm could do this once, they could do it again. The council chambers. The arguments grew louder. Humanity has doomed us all. One delegate screamed, "You fight like demons, and now the demons wear your face." But another voice rose, a frail, soft one from a small aquatic species, yet without humans. "The krill would have destroyed us long ago. If hybrids are the cost, then better hybrids than extinction." The chamber broke into chaos, but outside, across refugee camps and shattered colonies, the people still whispered the same truth. Only humans fight the krill without fear. Back on Earth, the war councils faced a nightmare. Defeating the krill was no longer enough. Every human victory fed the hybrids more knowledge, more strength. Every secret weapon unleashed only risked turning the swarm into something stronger, Commander. Hale finally asked the question no one wanted to say aloud. If they keep learning, how long before the krill become us? The silence was heavy. "Admiral," Reyes answered at last, voice like steel. "Then we will show them what it means to be human. Not just weapons, not just war, but the will to fight when no one else can. They can steal our machines, they can steal our voices, but they cannot steal our spirit." Yet even as Reyes spoke, a new report arrived. Deep in krill space, something vast was stirring. A hybrid hive unlike anything seen before, larger than a world. Alive with both krill flesh and stolen human metal. Its signal pulsed across the void. Stronger than any hive queen, the hybrids were not just adapting. They were building their own Leviathan, and this time was not only KRYL, it was krill and humanity fused together. The galaxy had begun to whisper. Whispers of humans. Whispers of a war that was no longer a war, but something worse, something no one could control. Entire star systems had gone silent after human fleets passed through. Empires that once ruled with arrogance now avoided direct conflict, choosing instead to hide, to retreat, to pretend they were never involved. But the humans did not stop. Their fleets moved like storms, unpredictable and terrifying. When they struck, they did not just fight. They ended wars in hours. They broke enemy fleets in minutes. They left survivors not out of mercy, but as warnings. Those survivors returned shaking, their eyes wide, their voices trembling when they spoke of Earth's soldiers. "They are not fighting for survival," one survivor said before collapsing in fear. "They are fighting for something bigger. They are unstoppable." Now, the Council of Great Powers gathered once again. For the first time in centuries, they were united not in greed, not in ambition, but in fear. Their chambers echoed. "With the sound of desperate voices, we must contain them," said one. "They are only one species," said another. "They cannot fight all of us." But silence followed, as everyone knew the truth. Humans could fight all of them, and win. Across the void, the humans were preparing for something larger. "Admiral." Kalen stood on the bridge of the flagship Odin's Wrath. He looked over the endless stars, his jaw set, his eyes hard. The galaxy had treated Earth as prey, but now it saw the truth. Beside him, Commander Yara spoke in a low voice. "Reports confirm it. The enemy is gathering, a coalition. Dozens of species, maybe more. They are desperate enough to fight together." Kalen nodded. "Let them come." The galaxy still doesn't understand. They think they can crush us with numbers. But war isn't about numbers. It's about will. He leaned forward, his voice calm, almost cold, and humanity's will is unbreakable. As the coalition prepared its largest fleet in recorded history, humanity moved faster. Factories on Mars burned day and night, producing ships faster than anyone thought possible. Titan's shipyards glowed brighter than suns. On Earth, every city contributed engineers, scientists, soldiers, families. The entire species had become one war machine. But there was more. Rumors spread of secret projects, weapons beyond imagination. Some whispered about a machine that could tear holes in stars. Others spoke of fleets hidden in the dark between galaxies, waiting for the signal to return. The galaxy watched with dread. They had called the humans monsters, predators, nightmares. But now, faced with the truth, they realized those words were too small, and then it began. The Coalition's fleet emerged from hyperspace near the Vega system. Billions of tons of metal, thousands of warships, weapons enough to erase worlds. Their commanders felt confidence in their numbers, in their alliance. But when the human fleet arrived, silence fell. Not because of their numbers, not because of their weapons, but because of their presence. The humans did not roar. They did not send warnings. They simply arrived, calm and steady. Their ships black against the stars like shadows of ancient titans. For the first time, the galaxy realized something chilling. The humans were not fighting to survive anymore. They were fighting to win. The battle began, and the stars lit up like fire. Ships clashed, weapons screamed, entire worlds shook under the force. But within minutes, the coalition began to break. Their fleets were massive, but they were not united. Fear spread faster than orders. Panic destroyed their lines, and the humans pressed forward, cold, relentless, efficient. Admiral Kellen's voice rang through the comms. We do not stop. We do not retreat. Today we show the galaxy what it means to fight humans. One by one, coalition ships fell silent. Begged for retreat, but there was nowhere to run. Humanity's war machine crushed them without hesitation. When it was over, the Vega system was silent again. Wreckage floated in space, burning slowly. The Coalition's greatest fleet destroyed. Word spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Entire species that once mocked humans now trembled at their name. Others fled into the dark, praying they would never be found. But Admiral Kalen was not satisfied. He looked over the battlefield, his voice low, his expression unreadable. This is only the beginning. Humanity was no longer answering calls for help, no longer defending. They were moving forward step by step, toward something greater, and the galaxy finally began to understand the most terrifying truth of all. The humans had been called. Now, nothing could stop them. The battlefield was silent. For the first time in years, there was no screaming of ships tearing through space, no thunder of alien weapons. The galaxy had gone quiet, but it was not peace, it was fear, the fleets of the Council gathered at the edge of a ruined star system, their ships scarred and broken. Planets that once belonged to proud empires now floated as burning husks. Entire species had been forced to retreat into hiding. All because they had made one choice, the choice to call the humans. At first, the galaxy thought it was salvation. Humans came like shadows, answering the call with strange ships. Weapons that did not belong to this era, and soldiers who fought with both rage and silence. They were supposed to fight against the swarm, the endless enemy that devoured worlds. And they did. The swarm was gone now. It's destroyed in fire and fury. But the galaxy soon realized something far darker. The humans were not leaving. Admiral Threx stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the human fleet that stretched across the stars. They were not scattered like other species' ships. They moved as one, like an organism, silent and precise, whispered. We called them to save us, and now we cannot control them. On the far side of the system, the human fleet shifted. Dozens of colossal warships turned in unison, their guns still glowing faintly from the last battle. The humans had not spoken since the war ended. No demands, no treaties, no alliances, only silence. The silence was worse than war, the council. Leaders met in secret chambers, voices trembling as they argued. Some wanted to thank the humans, to build peace. Others wanted to find a way to remove them before it was too late. But no one could agree because none of them knew what the humans truly wanted. Commander Alarin, one of the rare humans who spoke to the galaxy, finally broke the silence. His voice was broadcast across the system. Calm, cold, we were called. Because you said there was no hope, we gave you victory. But you must understand this. Humans do not come and leave. We change everything we touch. The words echoed like a death sentence. On worlds across the galaxy, ordinary people felt a strange mix of relief and terror. Relief that the swarm was destroyed. Terror that humanity might now take the galaxy for themselves. Stories spread human. Soldiers who fought with no fear. Human captains who never slept. Human weapons that could erase cities in a blink. To some, humans were angels. To others, demons. The truth was more terrifying. In the ruins of the swarm's last stronghold, human, scientists were already at work. They studied the enemy's flesh, its strange hive mind. They whispered about experiments, about creating something new. The other species wanted to ask questions, but none dared approach. Whispers turned into rumors. Rumors turned into fear. Then, one night, a signal pulsed across the stars. It came from a human warship, a message not meant for the galaxy, but for humanity itself. Still, others intercepted it. For words.
Only 4.
Phase 2 begins now. No one understood, not the council, not the admirals, not the terrified civilians. But the effect was immediate. Human fleets spread outward, not with chaos, but with frightening order. They moved into abandoned systems, set up bases, and began building structures no alien recognized. The galaxy realized the truth too late. Humanity had not just come to fight. They had come to stay. Some species thought about resistance. But when they looked at their weakened fleets, their broken armies, their burned planets, they knew they could not fight again. Others thought about alliances with the humans. To stand beside them, not against them. But alliances with predators always came at a cost. Admiral Threx, watching from his ship, spoke the words none wanted to admit. We did not summon saviors. We summoned rulers. So the galaxy waited, silent and afraid. They had traded one nightmare of the swarm for another. The humans did not roar. They did not boast. They only moved forward, step by step, like a tide that never receded. And as the stars grew quiet once more, one truth became clear. When all hope was lost, they had called the most feared species in the galaxy, and humanity had answered. But hope had a price, and that price was everything.